We'll begin with Sahana Bhavatu and then go straight to the Bhaja Govindam. Last week, did I give the overview of all the volumes of different kinds of works that Bhagavan Adi Shankaracharya ji has penned down? Om Sahana Bhavatu Sahanau Bhunaktu Sahaviryankaravavahai Tejasvinavadhitamastu ma vidvishavahai. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Harihi Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Harihi Om. So when Adi Shankaracharya ji was in Kashi, Banaras, Varanasi, actual name of it. Last week you said about 3-4 of you had visited that place, right? There are 2 rivers in that place, Varuna and Asi, and they merge, and because of Varuna and Asi it is called Varanasi. One of the most ancient cities in the reference from the oldest scriptures. It is referred in the anybody who visited it in last 4-5 months, right? The way it is described is from the Ganga Ghat to Bhagavan Vishwanatha, and when you take a bath in that river and turn around, you directly see Vishwanatha. I am told that with the present cleanup, you can actually see it as it is described in the several scriptures. Though the actual temple is still to be restored. This particular temple that which we are worshipping these last few centuries has been built by a great queen from Indore called Ahalyabai Holkar. So that is the temple that we have. The original temple, there is still a battle going on in the courts. So when you are facing Ganga ji with Vishwanath ji to your back, on the one side there is Manikarnika Ghat, on the other side there is Harishchandra Ghat. There are several other ghats. Primarily on these ghats there are constantly the pyres, the last ceremony, Antya Kriya or Antima Kriya, is performed, and the group of people that are responsible for performing it are called Chandala. There is also the tradition where if you want to go into the sanctum sanctorum of the temple, you take bath in the river, and with those wet clothes you proceed forward. So Bhagavan Adi Shankaracharya ji had taken that holy dip and he was walking towards Vishwanatha. The Chandala from Manikarnika crosses the path. So he says, Adi Shankaracharya ji says to him, Gacha Gacha, can you move aside? So the Chandala, don't take them lightly that they are doing such jobs, so therefore they are not wise. So he turned around, very amused, asked Adi Shankaracharya ji, Sharirat Shariram va, Chaitanyat Chaitanyam va, Kim Duri Karthum Vanchasi, Bho Dvijasreshta. O great one, what are you asking to be separated from what? Gacha Gacha, separate yourself. If you are talking from the perspective of this body, then your body and my body is made up of the same 5 elements. If you think it is good, then we are good enough. If you think that it is bad, then we are bad enough. From the standpoint of that which is enlivening this, the Atma Chaitanya, the all-pervading self, it is the same again. And it is one without a second. Therefore, you cannot separate it. So as soon as he heard this from that Chandala, Adi Shankaracharya ji, prostrates to him, Dandavat Pranam, for reassuringly correcting him and putting the perspective back in picture. So he speaks to his own mind, intelligence, and that outburst is called Manisha Panchakam, the poem that came out, 5 shlokas, very powerful message. Then later, Adi Shankaracharya ji, it is said, he was going to take, he was on the ghats, he was walking, and he found this very elderly gentleman who was memorizing the Panini Sutras. So please don't pronounce it as Panini, it is not a bread variety, it is Panini. Maybe Panini bread is named after Panini, but they have been mispronouncing this. Don't change Panini into Panini, because there is, I hear an Ayurvedic company called Patanjali, and the kinds of pronunciation I hear of that name. Patanjali, Rama. No, it is not Patanjali, it is Patanjali, who's the envisioner of the entire yoga kriyas. It is named after him. So pronounce the names. Panini. Panini has given the entire coding for understanding and applying Sanskritam as a language. Prior to him, there have been 9 other such codings on Sanskritam. Bhagavan Sri Ramchandra ji, when he first met Hanuman ji, Ramchandra ji, you are seeing, Hanuman ji, I am seeing. So when he met him for the first time, he turns to Lakshmana, who wanted to get rid of that inquisitive person. He says, no, he is not an ordinary person. He is, the description that he gives of Hanumanji, he says, Ramji says, he is Nava Vidha Vyakarana Pandita. Those 9 systems of coding that he was an expert in. Now from those, based off of those Vedic coding system of Sanskritam, for a common man to practice and apply, it was brought down in the format of Pananiya Ashtadhyayi Samskrita Sutra. Ashtadhyayi, Ashta Adhyaya, 8 chapters or 8 segments, Ashtadhyayi. And the way it is coded, I will not go detail into it because this is not a lecture on Panini grammar, but a portion of it is, there is a dhatu. Dhatu is the root word. Like for example, dharma. The root word for dharma is dhr. D-H-R-U. Dhr. Dhr means to hold, to uphold. Dharanat dharyate iti dharma. So the root word is dhr. And the way he has formalized that sutra is, the root word is given, its meaning is given, and then its application is given afterwards. That is how the sutra goes. So this elderly gentleman was sitting in that Ganga Ghat and memorizing. Just like how many of us growing up in India would memorize the mathematics table. We used to never call it mathematics table, we used to just call it tables. It's only after I started speaking on platforms then I had to qualify it as mathematics tables. So the tables, 2 ones are 2, 2 twos are 4, 2 threes are 6, 2 are 6, because it would be early in the morning that we would be woken up, and that was the first chore that we had to do. 2 times all the way to 20 times 20. So the first parayan was of that. So to memorize it, so you repeat it after to a certain extent. So this elderly gentleman was repeating this particular sutra, which stunned Adi Shankaracharya ji, and he paused looking at that. What was the sutra? The sutra that he was hearing was Dukkring Karane. That is the sutra from Panini. Kru is the dhatu. Kru means what? Karane, to do. That is how simple way it is defined. So he takes that and he spins it into his poetic outburst. That is where Bhaja Govindam comes into picture. So he says, the person is like 1 foot hanging in the grave, very senior. And what is he spending his time for? Learning Sanskritam, that too sutras, which is not going to be beneficial at that point of time. It is like you have to be in an ICU for the intravenous medication and you are trying to go to the med school to understand the medicine. It's not beneficial at that point. It's counterproductive rather. So that is what stuck as an irony to him, and he looked at him and said, what is more important? So he says, Bhaja Govindam, Govindam Bhaja. Remember that Bhagavan, chant his name, chant his glories, and tune your mind to that Supreme, which is what is more important. If you had time on your side, maybe learning Sanskritam is also good, but at this point it is not. So reconstruct and relook at your own priorities. So that is what inspired these 30 shlokas. These 30 shlokas are also called Moha Mudgara. Mudgara, boxing, like pounding onto something. What is that something? Moha, our delusions, our ignorance. So it is a direct smack on our delusions. Mudgara also has a meaning where if you have visited the Akhada, the Indian version of gym, they would have a mace, gada, dumbbell kind. It's an Indian dumbbell they call it, the Indian wooden dumbbell if you have to refer to. So they do the rounds with it. So that is also called Mudgara in Sanskritam. So imagine that being used to pound. Pound what? Moha, our delusion. So Moha Mudgara. To remove, to pound and remove the delusion so that there is clarity that sets in. So this Bhaja Govindam is offered as that contextual, situational outburst, but which has profound message. And as I have said it earlier, it is not dipped in sugar coating. It is like a smack into our face, direct message delivered. Our MS Subbalakshmi Amma has done a very good job in reciting this Bhaja Govindam. It is called Raga Malika, in several ragas strung together as a song. Don't expect that from me. Because हम कानसेन है, तानसेन नहीं है. I can't sing for good. Thank you. You can do the Jugalbandi with me. So try repeating after me. Bhaja Govindam, Bhaja Govindam. Govindam Bhaja Moodhamate. Samprapte Sannihite Kale. Nahi nahi rakshati dukrankarane. Whenever a work of such order is written or composed, the first shloka is considered as an invocation to the Supreme. It is called Mangalacharana. It is a tradition in our Hindu families. That tradition has become a vocabulary in our native languages. Say for example in Hindi, if you want to start something, right? कहते हैं उसका श्री गणेश किया क्या? Please don't translate it into have you kick started it. We don't kick anything, we to start. We worship and then start. So Shri Ganesh kiya matlab have you worshipped, invoked the blessings to begin something. And usually the attunement of the composer is towards that particular form of Devi Devata that they are connected, feel close to. That is called their Ishta Devata. So who is the Ishta Devata of Bhagavan Adi Shankaracharya ji? Krishna. Bhagavan Shri Krishna. How do I claim that? Because many people think it might have been Shiva. Just because there are three crossed lines on the forehead doesn't mean that they are Shaiva. It could be Smartha also. Write that in English, that word. It could be smart also. Smartha, where they are of the Advaita principle, where they invoke that Parabrahma Paramatma in various forms. And there is no limitation to it. So Bhagavan Adi Shankaracharya ji was Advaita Vedantin whose invocation is towards Bhagavan Krishna. And the pun intended in this particular verse is he is doing the invocation to both. Actually his invocation is 3 times. Bhaja Govindam, Bhaja Govindam, Govindam Bhaja. So he is invoking 3 times, and in that invocation his pun intended. Govinda is his Ishta Devata. Govinda means Bhagavan Krishna. Govinda also is his Guru's name. His Guru's name is Govinda Bhagavat Padacharya. So when he is referring to Govinda, he is invoking his Guru and his blessings as well. Third meaning of it is go, that word, when you go to the root of it, it means our indriyas. We have 2 kinds of indriyas. See, this body is I/O device, input-output device. We get a lot of information from the world, and that through which the information goes in is called Jnanendriya, the organs of knowledge. Shabda, Sparsha, Rupa, Rasa, Gandha. These 5 go in through the ears, eyes, nose, tongue and the skin. Jnanendriya. And then we work in this world, interact with this world through karmendriya. Hands, legs, speech. And then there is physical gross matter that we eat. Therefore, that has to be pushed out of the body. We have the anus and the genitalia. So, total 5 organs of action. Input, output. So, with these jnanendriyas are also referred to in the scriptures as go. Go meaning the indriyas. Vinda. Vinda is to that who controls it. That who is the boss of it. Who is the boss of this indriyas? Mind is the boss of these indriyas. Who is the boss of the mind? The intellect is the boss of this mind. Who is the boss of this intellect? It is that conscious principle. Therefore, he is invoking the blessings of that conscious principle which has inspired him to express as this set of 30 shlokas. Bhaja Govindam, Bhaja Govindam, Govindam, Bhaja. So, Govinda explained in all its 3 meanings. The word Bhaja definitely means to worship. The first meaning of the word Bhaja is to worship. The second meaning of it is to sing the glories. Bhajan. Bhajan Gana is to sing the glories of Bhagavan. Third, Bhaja also means worship, singing the glories, and the third meaning of it is to offer seva. That is bhanjana. आप ये कर रहे थे ना, हाँ वो भंजन है, दुख भंजन, तो दुख को हरने वाले, ये भज है. So bhaja means to offer seva, sevayam. That seva, because even that seva is to be performed in the world, not because they have not, therefore I am reaching out. See, the translation of seva, very beautifully put by Swami Shivananji Maharaj, he calls it as Narayana Seva. Though I am offering this help to that particular individual, but my actual intent is to serve that Bhagavan who is expressing as this individual. Bhagavan meaning that conscious principle. So, Bhaja is to worship, Bhaja is to sing, Bhaja means to serve. So, with these 3 attitudes, you connect to these 3 aspects. 1, Bhagavan, 2nd, Guru, 3rd, to your own conscious principle. That is of the highest priority. Bhaja Govindam, Bhaja Govindam, Govindam Bhaja. Is this message very clear? That in spite of hearing it, do we cater to, it's not that just this Bhaja Govindam has stated it, we know about this being a Hindu to perform worship, to meditate upon the self, to serve the humanity. Did we know it prior to listening to Bhaja Govindam? Of course we did. Didn't we? But how many of us take that as the highest priority and perform that diligently, almost like as regularly as we breathe, that this has to be the priority? Why do we not perform it? The concept is clear. Therefore, the last word of the second sentence. Adi Shankaracharya ji is calling us out, so bear with me. As I said, it is not sugar coated. So, right in the second sentence, last word, in Indian parlance with cricket as a reference, chakka, out of the boundary, because he calls us out as Moodha Mate. Moodha Mate means what? Haji? Fool, stupid, मंदबुद्धि, idiot, सबने बताया, मैंने केवल संकलन किया. One delta T, 10T, okay, idiot. He coded it also. Now, who is a Moodha? It is but natural that as we evolve, we make mistakes. Don't we? We may scold our children. There is no child here, so we can speak it out loud. We may scold our children. Now, how many times do I have to tell you to be? Still you are like this? Dumb fool. कहा आपने कभी अपने बच्चे को? Just move your eyelashes. I can get the message. ठीक है, समझ गया. But really speaking, हम उतने दूध के धुले तो हैं नहीं. That we are not that, pure, that we have never ever committed mistakes. If you have never committed mistakes, then you have never grown. Isn't it? We make this dichotomy very grave in saying, mistakes are not acceptable. As though कभी जिंदगी में कोई गलती ही नहीं किया हो. Right? So to err is human. Quite natural. Otherwise we will never grow. They are not called fools. They are not called idiots. They are not called stupid. But to repeat the same mistake again and again with renewed energy, without looking into changing any of the parameters for a better result, repeating the same effort again and again and repeating the same mistake with renewed enthusiasm, that fellow is called Murkha. And according to Adi Shankaracharya ji, we seem to have done a PhD in that. Moodha Mate. Now the root word for that murkhatva is moha. Why do we keep repeating the same mistake again and again? The root cause of it is our delusion, and that delusion has not been removed. Haji. It is a result of that ego. Haji. See, that is a colloquial usage. Moha as attraction, and mohita is to be attracted. But that is a colloquial usage used in, even in Sanskritam it is used, but it is a extrapolation of this word delusion. The mind is, delusion means what? The mind is covered with that particular aspect that it sees nothing else of what it is convinced of. So what is the moha that is being talked about? That which is real is considered as unreal, and that which we have experienced as unreal still pursue to want to see it as real. So once I was in one of the middle school or high school classes. I was having an interaction with them to explain delusion. Very difficult, abstract topic. So I said, do you see horns on my head? Very tricky to work with kids. Your kids. Very tricky to work with them. And one fellow thought he had me. And he said, of course. The moment I said, do you see horns on my head? He said, of course. I said, good. That is called delusion. To see something which exists not is one aspect of it. The second aspect of it is to not see that which is also delusion. To see that which exists not and to not see that which is, both these aspects put together is called delusion. At a deeper level, what does it indicate? That which is real, that which is long lasting, permanent, we give that up while we are still holding on to that which is not permanent, expecting that permanency from there. समझे? One example just to show the hilariousness of it. Have you seen these anti-wrinkle, anti-aging creams? सबने ट्राई किया होगा. Nowadays it is sold specifically catered towards men also. Fair and handsome है भाई. You can Google it up. You will find advertisements on that. Now that cream, the advertisers themselves know that the models it doesn't work on. So therefore every 6 months they keep changing the model. But still we gape at that advertisement. कुछ तो होगा यार. But what is the fact? Getting to that age where it is called being old is but natural. पर क्या करें? दिल है कि मानता नहीं. Not only that, our stupidity, we have songs on that stupidity and sing about it. क्या बोले? Do you understand Moha now? That which is we are not ready to see, that which is not we keep anticipating. In this friction we create that very activity is called papa, and that papa creates tapa. And we create it at all layers of our life. However you want to define those layers. The very traditional way of looking at it is at the layer of our body, we create this friction. Don't call me uncle. भैया बोलो. अबे बुढ़े, सटिया गया हो का? गंजे हो गए हो, दांत गिर रहे हैं, आंख दिखता नहीं है, चश्मा लगाए फिर रहे हो, पर भैया बोले हम आपको. Don't call me auntie. Swami ji, we are not old, we are young at heart. Heart की बात कौन कर रहा है? We are clear. As the appearance of the physical body, you are old. Somebody to get back at me and said, Swamiji, you are not the same, you are getting old. होता ना कि अपने president साहब अशोक जी, he has a fun, he has a kick out of it every time. When Swamiji came here 20 years ago, he was a young brahmachari, and then he looks at me and chuckles. Reading it, आप अभी young नहीं हो स्वामी जी. So somebody wanted to catch you there. Said, Swamiji, you have become old. I said, becoming old, at least there is one consistency in my life. And it will continuously get to that level. Nobody can avoid it. It is but natural. But क्या है? I don't want to agree. I don't want to take that. It started all the way when we were having the first strand of white hair. दिल पे हाथ रख के बताओ क्या किया आपने? What did you do with that first strand of hair? Nothing मत बोलो, कुछ तो क्या? हम थे नहीं पर जानते जरूर हैं. As though to tease, within 2 days, right at that spot, 2 more. Laughing at us. Right from that time, where we were compelled to put the black wash, white wash nahi hai na wo, black wash. That is the reality. It's not only that I am convinced that it has to be colored. Out of sweetness of their goodness of their heart, there is this gentleman that came to me and he said, Swamiji, I have had a successful hair transplant. You know, you go to the public forums and say, I think you should also get a. I will take care of it. I'll take you there. I will book the whole thing and bring you back. It will take about 20 days. I'll pay for it. I said, how much is it? He said, 2 lakh lagte hain. I said, translate it into dollars. I said, how much ever was it translated? He said, I said, okay, give that, donate it to Chinmaya Mission. Where I am reaching to a state of permanency. Right? There are 3 kinds of hairstyles. Parted, आपके बच्चे unparted, and then people like us departed. Reaching to that point where there is a permanency, right? Because that is the truth, that is the fact. There is nothing resisting about it or going against it. But the moment we anticipate something else other than the fact, other than the truth, we are creating layers of friction. Physically we create. Emotionally we keep creating. Conceptually we always, these are the layers. Another way of looking at layers is we have family life, we have professional life, we have friendship, that circle, and then we have spiritual. Many I find, they have done their bachelor's, master's in a particular field. End up working coding. Then caught up in that 9 to 5, complain. स्वामी जी यार ये इतना प्रेशर होता है. I said, how much do you make? I said, how much is the tax that you pay? How much percentage? 30%. मतलब 250 से कम नहीं कमाते होंगे. If 250 is what they are paying you, they are expecting you to create revenue at least 100x. Am I fair enough to say that? So when you signed that dotted line for this particular job with that kind of a pay and that kind of perks, did you not know that that was what was expected out of you as work and that it comes with that pressure? Yes or no? Right? It comes with that turf. That means you must have been prepared for it. That which is, but I don't want to accept. The moment there is that, there is a friction. Go to the grassroots, understand the facts and truth about it. And if I am anywhere other than it, then it is going to create a rupture. It is going to create that friction. That friction is called tapa. Tapa at physical level, tapa at emotional level, tapa at an intellectual level. Therefore, it is called tapatraya. Tapatraya vinashaya Shri Krishnaya vayam numaha. At least in my native language. How many of you speak Telugu? The way they used to say, do not worry, is tapatraya padaku. Do not create tapa at any one of these three levels. It's in the vocabulary. But we have interpreted tapatraya as worry. But why is it called tapatraya? Because we create ruptures at all these three levels. Now, you burn your finger once. You burn your finger twice. First one was a mistake, second one was a confirmation. Do baar hua. If every single day it is the same mistake repeated, now you close your eyes and view from the morning that you wake up to the time that you sleep. How many times do we make the same mistake again and again and again? Starting from the alarm going off. Who set the alarm? आपके नेबर ने आके सेट किया था? आपने सेट किया. You set it for yourself, the alarm. Who cringes hearing it in the morning? And then, Swamiji, you don't understand. The best sleep is then. The bed is warm, the quilt is warm. Oh, मजा तो तभी आता है. 2 minutes. Aren't we starting with a friction? It is morning, but we mourn that it is morning. So it should be morning. Every day it starts with a morning. Hi Ram, फिर उठना पड़ेगा. Therefore, what is the anticipation that we set? अरे यार weekend आ जाए. Why? What happens on weekend? I can sleep as much as I want. What about Sunday Balavihar? That is why we have chosen second session. No, sorry, it is not us. It is the children. दिल बहलाने के लिए गालिब ख्याल बुरा नहीं है. Facts तो facts है. See that dichotomy that we have created again, that as though I need to be less responsible because it is a weekend. But you live less on a weekend? Life is not something which happens on a weekend. Life is every moment. That is a fact. But we refuse to accept it. Friction again. And on the top of all of this, we pursue that which is not even a priority. And in Yaksha Prashna in Mahabharata, there is a sequence of dialogue between Yaksha and Yudhishthira. It's called Yaksha's questions, which are answered by Yudhishthira. And that situation is not amazingly favorable for Yudhishthira. I'll not go into the details of the story, but the situation is his wife, Draupadi Devi, is far away in the jungle, alone. Near that lake where the water source that they had to bring that water are 4 dead bodies. Who was the youngest one? Sahadev, then Nakula, then Arjuna, and then Bhima. All 4 lying dead. मर गए थे बीच में वो. So he is seeing those dead bodies. Put yourself in that position. Your wife is somewhere, or your spouse is somewhere. Somebody that you have to care for is somewhere, all alone in the wilderness. The rest of the support system that you have, that you can trust, is lying there dead. What is your mental condition at that point? Freaking out, isn't it? अरे बाप रे क्या हो गया, अरे मर गए. We are crying. That is the situation. And he says, if you want a sense of relief, you have to answer these questions, then I will give you your relief, says the Yaksha. So Yudhishthira says, okay, ask. In that kind of an environment, he is answering the questions. This is what is the most irony of human life. He says, we spend our resources in gaining wealth, which we end up spending on recovering the health that we have lost in gaining that wealth. है ना बढ़िया बात? And at that point, when somebody comes to us and tells us, भाई ऐसे मत करो, your generation won't understand. Let us be. Let us explore our own lives. Don't meddle with our lives. You are done, you stay away. Every younger generation has said this to the older generation, claiming that they are wiser than the older generation. किया है कि नहीं हमने? How many times have we ridiculed our parents for giving us, guiding us in the right path? Saying that they know nothing, because there is a generational gap. That's why I said this is a hard-hitting, straight message. That which is not the priority, we pursue that. And then regret, gosh, I would have done something better. See, I run this course called Youth Empowerment Course, 18 to 28 years of age. Many of the kind-hearted mothers and others who come to help as volunteers, they come to cherish, every one of them has said this, Swamiji, I keep coming back again and again, because that opportunity, though I had, I refused to use that. I at least want to be a part of it where it can make a difference, at least to the next generation. So why don't you want to make that change? हो गया स्वामी जी, हमारा life है ना, it's done. I wish I could have done it at that age. Many say, I did not even have the opportunity, at least let me be a part of that, where next generation has the opportunity. There are many who say, I did have that opportunity, I did have those well-wishers, I still refuse to listen to them. It's not like these pointers and markers are not highlighted for us by our well-wishers in time. As one of the bhajan says, Jab yauvan maan ghanare. When I was young, my ahankara was very strong. I would not listen to anybody. So refuse to see that which is being pointed at. Spoon fed. कि बेटा ऐसा मत करो, बेटा ऐसा किया करो. I mean, if you don't remember what you have done, at least the next generation that you are handling, your kids, what are the two greatest words, the two stupid words that they have learnt with which they think that they have mastered the entire world and they know it all? If you ask them to do something, what is that one word that they ask? Thank you. And when you tell them not to do something, what is the next word that? Why not? And with these two sets, they think they have mastered the entire world and they know it all. Frustration hota hai na when you hear that. Then when you step back and sit down and realize, then sometimes on that weekend when that reminiscence of Mummy, Papa, yaar, how did you guys handle us? I am finding it difficult with this 1.5 kids that are there on an average at home. You guys used to handle 7-8 of us, plus Nana Nani and those cousins also, and with meager pay, meager income. You guys handled it. I am like pulling, at my wit's end. He did the same thing to the earlier generation as this generation is doing to us with interest. Many people say, Swamiji, we never talk back to our parents. Now this generation talks back. The next generation will have interest plus. They will give it back to them. Every generation there is that. And yet, what do? Put our life at stake in claiming and focusing on things that are least priority, least important. We give that as a major focus and then lose out on maximum. What is the British usage? Penny wise, pound foolish. Where our own learning and wisdom has said, a stitch in time saves. पर क्या करें? मूढ़मते. The intellect is covered with this delusion that whatever I am convinced of, whether it is wrong or right, I keep running around expecting newer results with the same environment with nothing changed. Swamiji, what to tell my husband, ये कितने साल से शादी किया? 20-22 साल हो गए. In 22 years, if he has not changed, do you think today he is going to change? Same with the wife. You have known each other for that long and you know what ticks, what doesn't tick, what. The river, like Ganga ji, if you observe, if there is a mountain, it doesn't hit into the mountain complaining that, kabhi hilte nahi ho. What does it do? Contours around that very beautifully, delicately, it contours around and finds its way. I'm just giving several examples of several layers as to what is priority and what is not priority. But then my ego is, I will change. I will make sure that they hear me out and they make a change in their life. At what end? What is the purpose? Is it really that important? No, my ego is important. At least that is how we feel at that point. Therefore, that layer and that wrong priority. Last example before we wind up. You have an argument. It's a discussion. That discussion has gone into being a argument, and now it is Ukraine-Russia situation at the family front. Okay. You understand that the other person who you claim, honey, I love you. It is that kind of a relationship. Whether it is parents and children or spouse, you know that the other person is somebody that you care for, love. That is the person you are dealing with. You also know that in your argument you have made your point, the other person understands and is beating retreat. Ego is not satisfied. You cannot smear it around and then अब समझ में आया? Because the last word has to be ours. We know that these arguments don't lead, but that becomes a priority. So externally, these relationships, layers of family, friends, profession. Internally, the body, mind, intellect. The other, that which is not of priority, we give it a priority and spend lives worth effort only towards that wrong priority, achieving nothing. Whereas fine-tuning this at these three levels, Bhaja Govindam at a physical level, Bhaja Govindam at a emotional level, Bhaja Govindam at a intellectual level. Fine-tune them and then you see. Because the outside world will not change. It's like you have a car, you have a steering. The outside traffic you cannot change. What can you change? How you drive. So that you are safe, others are safe and you reach to your destination. Am I getting across? So why does this mind get enveloped in all these moha? Where it gets trapped, each one of them is picked up by examples, highlighted, and the solutions are also provided. So please come, we will continue it next week. Om Shant Shant Shanti.